How you feeling today, soulmates? We have made it to yet another Friday, January 27th. Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicolai Corte. We are honored to stand behind this desk each day to take you on a journey across Black America and the stories that impact our people.
That's right. We're going to bring you our news, our views, and our voice. Topping the news today, everyone's talking about it. The 5 former Memphis police officers are now facing charges in connection with the beating death of Tyre Nichols.
That's right. The case has sparked outrage for the brutality. Fox's Blanchard has the latest on the case.
Thank you that he is at a type of rest, that he never has to face again the evils in this world.
A community is mourning the loss of a young father in Memphis. Thursday, 5 now former police officers were indicted by a grand jury in the death of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols on charges including second-degree murder, aggravated assault and kidnapping, and official misconduct and oppression.
If there is any silver lining to be drawn from this very dark cloud, it's that perhaps this incident can open a broader conversation about the need for police reform.
Nichols was pulled over on January 7th. According to his family, video of the incident shows the officers beating him for 3 minutes. He died 3 days later.
He was a human pinata for those police officers.
Unlike in the George Floyd case, which sparked months of protests, all 5 of the officers in this case are Black. Attorneys for 2 of the charged say they will plead not guilty.
The law says that no one is guilty until a jury says they're guilty. And so that's a process.
The body cam footage will be publicly released Friday evening.
Frankly, I'm shocked. I'm sickened by what I saw.
The family and authorities are calling for protests to remain peaceful. President Biden echoed that call, writing, "Tyre's death is a painful reminder that we must do more to ensure that our criminal justice system lives up to the promise of fair and impartial justice, equal treatment, and dignity for all."
Thanks to Blanchard for that report. There will be a funeral service held for Nichols next week.
So from Memphis now to Georgia, where the governor has put the entire state under a state of emergency, mobilizing up to 1,000 National Guards in preparation for potential upcoming police protests. Now, last week, protesters turned violent in downtown Atlanta, throwing rocks, damaging a handful of buildings and police cars, one of which was actually set on fire. Now, they were upset over a planned police training facility and killing of an activist who police say shot a state trooper during a sweep. Governor Kemp says the state of emergency is needed to quell any, quote, unlawful assemblage, violence, or overt threats of violence. That's the end of that quote. Now, the state of emergency will remain in effect until February 9th.
A federal jury has found that a white Ohio police officer did not violate a Black teenager's civil rights when he shot and killed the boy while responding to a reported armed robbery. Columbus officer Brian Mason shot 13-year-old Tyre King in the head and torso on September 14, 2016, as the teen ran from police and after King reached for what police later discovered was a BB gun in his waistband. The suit also named the city and its police department as defendants, but a federal judge ruled last summer that there is no evidence the city and the police department violated Tyre's civil rights, meaning they could not be held legally liable.
And a follow-up to a story we brought you about a week ago. The Newport News School Board votes to relieve its district superintendent of his duties after an investigation reveals the administration had warning that a 6-year-old student had a gun before he reportedly shot his teacher. Now, this news comes after it became public that the Rich Neck Elementary School administration knew that that 6-year-old student was armed and was a threat. Now, according to reports, hours before the shooting, school officials had been warned that the young student was threatening students and was seen with a gun. Superintendent George Parks' last day will be February 1st. It is unclear how the child gained access to that gun.
In Michigan, a Jackson County School Board member is facing backlash for a series of tweets in which she calls white people and whiteness evil. The tweets by Keisha Hamilton were shared on TikTok by a parent. However, Hamilton says she's standing by what she said and won't be apologizing. Hamilton, in a statement, said that the comments about whiteness were regarding systemic racism and racist, and not white people as a whole. During a recent public comment meeting, parents on both sides voiced their opposition and support for Hamilton. No word on if disciplinary action will be taken.
Is this a matter of something being taken and or understood out of context? Your thoughts on that?
You know, I mean, perhaps. I mean, we all use shorthand language, and sometimes it translates to our social media posts. And, you know, she came out and explained herself. And, you know, let's not act like right now there aren't a lot of tempers flared over call-outs related to white supremacy, white supremacy violence, you know, whiteness, systemic racism. These are all the buzzwords that have a lot of people riled up right now. And so that may be part of what people are responding to.
Going back to the Memphis story, we've been watching that, keeping tabs on that press conference all morning long, a rather lengthy press conference. I do like to dive into the comments as I see, you know, some folks, you know, don't want to play the race card. Some folks are saying that they feel that the swift action of these police officers being brought to justice has to do with the fact that they are black. And so there's a lot of sub-conversations, if you will, happening around color and this being black on black. Real interesting to hear your thoughts as you've been really keeping tabs with this, and we've been chatting kind of off camera about this different type of dynamic here. Yeah.
I mean, you know, just this morning in the office, you know, I've been watching the press conference with Bill Crump and the mother of Tyre Nichols, the father of Tyre Nichols, and really hard to watch. You know, as a black man, you know, you can't help but report on these stories and follow these stories, and you know, you take them home. You know. We're talking about a community that we're a part of.
That's right.
And that makes it a little bit difficult. But, you know, Ben Crump this morning really zeroed in on the culture of policing. And one of the things he said during that press conference is that we've got to call out the culture. And so I think there are some people that will look at this and say, see, these were 5 black officers. These weren't even white officers, you know, and look what they did, right? And there are folks out there that will say, you know, well, you know, black people, you first, you know, why don't you reform yourselves first, you know, before coming after white police officers. And I think Ben Crump's argument during the press conference this morning really got to the heart of that. It's the culture of policing, and the culture, as he said, it must respect policy just as much as it respects the community, and we're not there yet. We just heard the White House press secretary had shared a statement from President Biden as everybody's waiting for this video to be released later this evening. And you know, she reminded folks that the president had supported the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which didn't get a Senate vote, and as a result signed an executive order to address the issue, but that only touches federal law enforcement, not state and local law enforcement. So we have a long way to go, but the culture of policing will be on trial. Make no mistake about it.
Blue taking a precedent over black this go around, at least this case, it appears. Okay, we're going to keep our eye on that and move on right now, as some of the most influential organizations have penned an open letter calling for increased funding for black feminist organizations. Some of those organizations include Melinda Gates's Pivotal Ventures, Rihanna's Clara Lionel Foundation, as well as the Ford Foundation and MacArthur Foundation. Now, they say it's time to fund black feminist movements like we want them to win, because across most urgent global challenges, black feminists are dreaming and delivering the solutions we need. We heard that before. Now, the Black Feminist Fund is looking to raise $100 million to support nonprofits led by black women who have been historically underfunded in philanthropy efforts. Now, the fund, which launched in 2021, has raised $35 million of its goals so far.
With the introduction of new legislation heading to the desk of Minnesota's governor, the state could become the 20th in the country to ban racial discrimination based on hair. The measure, titled HF 37, would expand the definition of race under Minnesota's Human Rights Act to cover race-related characteristics such as hair. The state's existing anti-discrimination laws ban bias in the workplace, housing, public accommodation, and other settings against a list of protected classes, including race, religion, and sex. The bill goes to Governor Tim Walz after winning final passage this week in the Senate by a 45-19 vote.
And we are learning more about what may have led to a physical confrontation in a classroom between a teacher and a student at Richmond High School earlier this week. Sources say a student said a racial slur to the substitute teacher, who is black. Another student captured what happened next on video. Take a look.
Hey, step out there, nigga. Say it again. Say it again. Hey, I don't care. Step swing. I ain't swinging. My hand behind my back. Yeah, you ain't playing, so then swing then. What's up? Call me that word then. You didn't say it though. I bet you ain't gonna say it no more. I bet you ain't gonna say it. Bro, I'm not playing with you, bro. You ain't playing with a student. I ain't fighting no. I'm not playing with you.
That teacher slammed the student to the ground, then put the student out of the classroom. This week, students led by the Black Student Union held a protest in response to the use of the racial slur. Now, the substitute teacher was or has since been fired. No word on if any charges will be filed.
2 female travelers are out of police custody after being arrested at the Miami International Airport following an altercation with an airline worker. The aftermath was caught on camera by other passengers in the terminal. Take a look. You can see officers pinning down the 2 women who were trying to take off from the scene. Police tell us that it all started at a Frontier Airlines ticket counter where an airline employee informed the 2 women that they could not board their flight to Atlanta because they were 45 minutes late. The 2 women, both from Durham, North Carolina, were released from jail after posting $500 bond each. They are due back in Florida court on February 23rd. Courtney, another example of adults behaving badly.
Yeah, caught on tape. Mm-hmm. You know, back to the classroom, there seems like there's something coming out almost daily where students inside the classroom have caught, you know, interactions either between students themselves or, you know, between a teacher and student. I just saw one before we came downstairs. It was a black female student and a black female teacher. I'm not too sure on what the exchange was all about, but it definitely got physical. You know, there's this argument that, you know, teachers have to take on more than they should. As far as, you know, self-discipline and the way that these students act outside of the home should come from the home as to how they should conduct themselves. It's a tough argument, and there are a lot on teachers, and I'm not condoning putting hands on students, but I can also see how, you know, these teachers are just fed all the way up. And, you know, what is the dialogue? What is the solution-based dialogue to the way that these students appear to be acting or acting out by way of these videos that we see? And also, what is our social compact with one another? Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, the climate on school campuses mm-hmm. across the country, I think we have to take a serious look at that. Mm-hmm. It's not just a school over here or a school over there, and we can't act like what's happening on our school campuses mm-hmm. Is completely divorced from what's happening in our communities. I mean, you know, that's a good point. We're not even 10 minutes into the show, and, you know, look at the stories that we've reported on.
Pretty heavy.
You know, issues related to overuse of force by law enforcement, mm-hmm. you know, again and again and again. And we can't think that that doesn't trickle into our schools. And mm-hmm. so, you know, we should see what's happening in our school as just another canary in the coal mine that's saying, hey, America, you know, we need to bring the temperature down. Mm-hmm. We need to dial some of this rhetoric back because it's making our kids unsafe. I mean, you know, we just reported on the school teacher in Virginia that was shot by a 6-year-old.
That's right.
You know, how often have we reported on young kids shooting teachers? That's how bad it appears to be getting. And so we can't look at these as a series of one-offs. We've got to see them as interconnected and do more to address it.
I agree.
Still ahead, Wells Fargo is having even more legal issues regarding their discrimination practices for home appraisals.
Plus, the changes coming from the FDA for blood donation. Those stories and more when we return. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.